Hi friends, it's Bryan coming to you with a devotional thought, something I've been thinking a lot about lately. I've been reading recently in the book of Proverbs in the Bible, and I just finished reading the book of Job. And those are books called the wisdom books in the Bible. It's also Ecclesiastes is one of those, but I've been thinking a lot about wisdom. You know, wisdom is something that we'd all like to have, right? And maybe sometimes we think that wisdom is something that elderly people have. When you get old enough and experienced enough, you become wise. But did you know that wisdom is not limited to age? There is actually a formula for wisdom. And I want to share it with you this morning because this is really, really powerful. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 2, verse number 6, here's what it says. For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth come knowledge and understanding. I want to point out those three words, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, because you'll see through the book of Proverbs, in the book of Job, even in some places in the New Testament, the book of Isaiah, that there's this connection between knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. And I want to break this down really simply and give you a formula for what wisdom is, because what we learn in the book of Proverbs is that Proverbs lays out these principles of how the world works, how life works. And if we follow them, if we do certain things, we'll get certain results. And it's all about learning to walk in wisdom. So let me give you this formula, and then I want to break it down for you real quickly. And then I want to challenge you to seek God so that you can have wisdom in your life. So here's the formula. Knowledge plus understanding equals wisdom. Knowledge plus understanding equals wisdom. Now, let's break down each one of those and let's put them together so that we can understand what God says we can do to have wisdom in our life. So first of all is this. Knowledge is simply knowing things. It's simply understanding certain things in the world, how, what they are. It's knowing the data. It's looking at research. It's understanding things. We have to gain knowledge. And the thing is, if we're going to have wisdom, we need to be educated. There's a lot of people in the world today that want to have opinions and want to declare the way things work, but they don't actually have a knowledge of anything that they're talking about. And we're all guilty of that. So the first thing we have to do is become knowledgeable about facts, about certain things in life. If we want to have wisdom in our marriage, we need to have knowledge of the way that God created marriage, the way that marriage is supposed to work. And so we start with knowledge. Knowledge is just simply knowing the facts, knowing the data. But you know what? Sometimes that's not enough. Because there's a lot of people that have a lot of knowledge, but they don't have an understanding about what that knowledge is. Let me give you an example. Now, my wife and I, we recently purchased our home, and so I've been on this tear to get things done in the house. I've got this list this long of all these projects, and the other day I was working on this outside outlet that had stopped working, and I thought that I had gotten it wet and that it was messed up. So I went and bought a new outlet, and so I was going to install this. Now I want to tell you, I am not an electrician. I have a little bit of knowledge of how electricity works. So I do know this. You go to the panel box, you cut it off before you start working on it. And so I did that, and I cut off on the panel box the one that said, the breaker that said patio. That's where the outlet was. And so I'm out working on that. I touch it, I make sure it's off, it doesn't work. I had cut the power off. Long story short, I'm changing the thing out. I never could get it to work. And so I ended up realizing that there was one of those GFCI outlets that was off in my garage. Somehow that one got tripped, and it had made the outlet on my patio stop working. And so even though I had the breaker box that I thought was operating that off, it turns out that wasn't the actual breaker that was controlling the patio outlet. So when I reset the GFCI outlet in my garage and I went back, not knowing that was connected to this outlet, I went and started working again thinking, I'm going to get this thing fixed. And I want to tell you, with my limited knowledge, I got a shock. It was live at that moment. And it hurt. In fact, I think even a couple weeks ago, I've got a little bit of, in my fingertip, like I can't feel right there. I think it may be connected. Here's my point. I had a little bit of knowledge, but I do not have an understanding of how electricity works in a home. I am not an electrician. I don't understand all that there is. And so because I had just a little bit of knowledge, but I didn't have the proper understanding, I did not have any wisdom to be doing this. Now, I will tell you that I eventually got this work through trial and error. And let me tell you, the error was painful. My point is this. We have to take knowledge and we have to add to that understanding. If we're going to end up with wisdom, we need to understand that there are things in our world, but we have to have an understanding of how to use that knowledge. And so what we learn is that in certain places of the Bible, it says that God gives us understanding, that there's the Spirit that He will put on the inside of us that will give us understanding. Now here's the problem. There's a lot of people in the world that think they know some things, but they don't have an understanding of how God makes it all work together, an understanding of how God works. Did you know that the Bible says that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom? If you want to find wisdom in your life, it has to start with knowing that there's a God and submitting our lives to the starting point of that God, so that we base our whole worldview on the way that God has created the world to work. That's how we gain an understanding. We have to take knowledge and begin to understand the way that things work. No matter if it's your marriage and you want to have a wisdom in your marriage, you need to understand the way that God created marriage to work. If it's your finances and you just can't simply get out of debt or ever get ahead, it's because just maybe you don't have an understanding of what you're supposed to. You know things about money, you know the details and the facts, but you don't have an understanding of the way that God said money's supposed to work. There's a Jewish rabbi, his name is Rabbi Daniel Lapin. I like to listen to him because he has this famous thing that he says all the time. And he says that he wants to teach us how the world really works. How does the world really work? And that's what understanding is. So we take knowledge, we have to add to it an understanding. And knowledge plus understanding equals wisdom. Now here's what wisdom is. Wisdom is the ability to take knowledge and to do something with it. Wisdom is having an understanding of what knowledge is, and then being able to use that knowledge to create things, to solve problems. It's looking at a situation and saying, man, what is the answer? What is the solution to this dilemma that I have? Because when we gain wisdom, we'll find out how, we'll begin to understand how to do things. We'll begin to operate in this manner where we can solve problems, we can create things, we can invent things, we can have innovation, we can solve relationship problems. We'll learn how the world really works so that we can apply wisdom and do something. Wisdom is doing something with the knowledge that we have because we've gained an understanding. Now, I could spend a lot of time talking about this, but that formula, knowledge plus understanding equals wisdom. And if you want to have wisdom in your life, you don't have to wait until you're 60, 70, 80 years old. Hopefully by then we have a lot more experience and a lot more understanding than we do when we're younger, but we can simply begin to find the understanding. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So here's the problem. In our world today, what people want to do is they want to start with their own opinions, their own idea of what truth is, their own experiences, and they say that the starting point is what I believe. And then they want to justify the way that they think and they believe, and they want to either discredit what the Bible says or discredit that there is a God or what God would say or what Christianity would say, because that doesn't fit their narrative in the way that they begin from their starting point. But did you know that in the world's way of thinking that they're wise, there's a way that the world thinks is wise, and then there's true wisdom, which the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And the Bible says that the wisdom of the world is foolishness in the sight of God. What the world deems as wise is foolishness if they don't start with a proper understanding that God is the one that declares what truth is, that God is the one that says this is the way the world works. And here's what we have to be careful not to do. It's to say, well, because this is my experience, or this is my belief, or maybe I've done this certain thing and I want to make sure that everything lines up to justify that so that I feel good about who I am and what I've done. No, that's not how it works. We have to start with what God says. If we want to have true wisdom in our lives, we have to be willing to say that there is a truth that supersedes my beliefs, my thinking, my experiences, and I have to start with that truth that there is a God. And what God said, the way that the world works, He declared. God created everything. And He operates on a system that is so far beyond what we can comprehend that we have to learn. We have to submit ourselves to that truth, that just maybe the way that I've been thinking all these years is not right. There's been times in my life where I was in my best intentions, thought I understand the way something worked, And after years, God showed me I wasn't thinking right about that. He gave me a greater understanding of some things. So that when I gained that understanding of the facts, of the knowledge, He said, now I'm going to allow you to operate in wisdom that you didn't have before. So I want to challenge you. Go to God. Start with Him. Seek Him for understanding of things. If you don't have knowledge about something, get more educated. We have to start with details and facts and educate ourselves, but then that's not enough. We have to say, God, give me an understanding of the way this world really works. And when we do that, when we're willing to say, maybe the way I've been thinking is wrong, maybe my moral values have not been lined up with God, maybe the way that I've been doing things, and maybe making myself feel better, making myself feel like this is the identity, this is just who I am, so this has to be right. No. Just maybe I need to submit who I am to God's way of thinking, and where I've been wrong and misaligned, say, God, I'm going to line it up with you. I want to gain a greater understanding of the way the world works. And then I can begin to operate in wisdom. And then I'll see greater success where I've been failing. And then where things haven't been, where there's been friction, things become smoother because now I'm operating in wisdom because I know how to apply the knowledge that I have in a way that God created the universe to work. So friends, I just wanted to share that with you. You'll see this pattern. Read the book of Proverbs. You'll see this combination of knowledge and understanding and wisdom linked together. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And just remember, the wisdom of the world is foolishness in the sight of God. It doesn't work. So let's find out what works. I'd love to hear your comments. If you want to hear more devotions by me and things that God shares along the way that I'll share with you, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'd love to have you on board to catch all the videos. And I'd love to hear your comments. What is God doing in your life? How are you learning about wisdom? How are you increasing knowledge and understanding so that God can work through your life to give you the wisdom you need? I love you. God bless you. I'll see you next time.